I'm Ross Martin, and this is Don Callahan, and this is The Scoop. Welcome into The Scoop, the #1 football recruiting podcast, part of the Inside Carolina Podcast Network. We are sponsored. We have two sponsors now, as you can see, sponsored by Blue Shark Vodka, the smoothest vodka in the world, found in all 100 counties in North Carolina. Make sure you pick up a bottle soon. And, of course, Johnny T-shirt and johnnyt-shirt.com. We have a lot to talk about today. Don, what's going on, man?
Not much. Just hoping that Blue Shark Vodka give me a little taste test over here in Holly Springs, North Carolina.
There you go. Go out and get you some. We have a big show. You pumped for the show, Don?
I am pumped. I love the intro. It's got me excited. How about you? What's going on in Ross's world? I know you're busy. This is a busy day for you.
Well,
and you have an audience.
Yeah, this new post-game show has been a kind of a different switch for how I operate on game day. So I've been adjusting to that. Obviously, we had a away game and a home game last week, another home game there. So I kind of approach game day differently and prepare and take notes to prepare for our post-game show, which airs live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook immediately after the game. But I'm not in the press box anymore. Other than that, everything is normal. We got some basketball interviews once a week now, and, of course, the regular football stuff. As summer comes to an end, we gear up for fall.
So I watched the first edition of your post-game show. That was good, although you guys looked a little shell-shocked with the result. Didn't get a chance to watch the second one, I think, because there were some other games on at the time I was trying to watch. So sorry about that. I definitely planned on watching it. So, but everything's going smooth with all that.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think Sean is great, great addition, and it's his first time doing media. So first time in front of a camera doing media. So getting him up to speed and getting him comfortable was kind of the goal. And I think each show we're gonna get better. And I think he brings unique perspective in terms of like being there, knowing what goes on in the huddle, the X's and O's, and then I'm bringing the energy and kind of guiding the show. And we have producer John as well. Shout out producer John. It's been good so far. It's kind of weird. We left the game at the kind of halfway through the third quarter. Like I ran to my car in the Bowles lot, and then picked up John and Sean and Sean's wife and kid, like at an intersection, and then drove to the office. And we watched like most of the fourth quarter here, which is cool. Of course, you want to be in the stadium for a close game. That's gonna be tough, kind of leaving a really close game and watching the office, but part of the job here. And it was good. Actually, shout out, I tailgated with some fans. Coulter, I believe his name, him and his buddies down in the Bowles lot. Tailgated with them a little bit on Saturday. They're diehard Scoop fans, Don Callahan fans. So that was good. All right, let's get into it. We can do a little more talk.
Hey, I got to tell you about mine. Is that so? I don't know if you know this, but I don't have a parking pass, so I park at the office and I walk from the office to the stadium.
No way!
I swear. Now,
and then you walk back.
Yeah. So on Saturday, Hawk, he knew what I was doing, so he actually picked me up at the office and drove me. But I did walk back.
Okay, so you didn't walk to the stadium. And it sounds like you're going to get Hawk.
I walked back.
Drive you.
I walked back.
Yeah, that's downhill. So people, our office is down by Finley Golf Course, kind of right past the Fresh Market. That's an uphill walk up Raleigh Road. We're about a mile from campus.
1.6 miles.
Yeah, that's probably the most you've walked in a while.
It is. I mean, I slept like a baby that night.
There you go. You came for football recruiting content, not Don's weekly exercise regimen. This is what we're talking about today. Not a lot of news, but we're going to really get into the 2022 class, the remaining targets, of which there are 4, 5, 6 names to know. That's really it for this 22 class. So we're going to get through that. We're going to preview George Pettaway's announcement. He's announcing September 22nd, which I think, is that next Wednesday, Don?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, you're going?
We are figuring out our plans at the moment.
There you go. George Pettaway from the Virginia Beach area, I believe. We're going to check in on all those 22 targets, see what updates are going on now, kind of 2 weeks into the season. Talk about Zach Rice as well, who's visiting UNC this Saturday for the Virginia game. We're going to talk about the team. We're 2 games in, Virginia Tech and Georgia State. So Don and I have watched both games. We're going to talk a little about the team, and then we're going to get into a little life advice. We've been pushing off this life advice. We have a good question, but I think with not a lot to talk about today, not really much new news, we'll have some time to get into that life advice segment, and we'll get out of here. And you'll
new top 5.
And we have a new top 5. Yeah, the new top 5 guys. I think this is a good one that everyone can get involved with. is your top 5 game day rituals / traditions that you do on a college football game day. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be like necessarily a ritual, but what you do when you wake up, whether it's something you eat that day, something you always tailgate with, how you watch, family stuff. If you go to the games, kind of what's your schedule and tradition. Kind of break down your game day rituals and traditions. How's that sound, Don?
I'm excited for it because I think everyone who's listening to this should have some sort of something that they do, and maybe some good traditions that we haven't heard of before.
There you go. Email those to Don or message him on Twitter or on the Inside Carolina
message board.
Platform message board. And also, if you have any life advice questions, we'll get into it later. You can email me at rossmartinnc or hit me up on Inside Carolina messaging as well.
Yes.
Good to go.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, we're going to talk about the 2022 targets and then get into Pettaway. Let's just run through them, guys. Check out the scoop, not the podcast, the article. I went through all the
weekly
3,
scoop.
The weekly scoop. I went through the last 3 last night and today to prep for the show. There's tons of info there, a lot more info than we're going to give away on this show. But let's go through each one here briefly. Don, Benji Gosnell, tight end. Obviously, his brother's on the team right now. He decommitted from Ohio State. They like him at tight end or defensive, outside linebacker, defensive end. What's going on with his recruitment?
Yeah, I mean, so he is looking at, for the most part, North Carolina, Virginia Tech. He's going to visit North Carolina this weekend, visit Virginia Tech last weekend. I have a little bit more kind of connecting the dots in the weekly scoop. All these guys really, weekly scoop, we updated on all of their recruitments.
Okay, that's all you get. That's all you get here. All right, Andre Green, guys, you know him. He's a wide receiver from, I think, the Richmond area of Virginia. UNC's last big wide receiver target. He's visited UNC a lot, but he's also had a national recruitment. What's going on with Andre Green?
Well, right now, the main thing is that he's trying to attend the Penn State whiteout this weekend, which is complicated by the fact that he plays in a high school game on Saturday at 2 in Washington, D.C., which is actually makes it a little bit easier because it's not in Richmond. But, the Penn State game starts at like 7:30, and it's like, I think it's like just under 4-hour ride. So whether, and the fact that he's trying to make this is interesting. And obviously Penn State's a huge factor in this recruitment.
Okay, moving right along. Turn off your alerts on your phone, Don. All right, Will Hardy, and this could be a new name for a lot of people. It's a relatively new name for me. Will Hardy, is he listed as a wide receiver?
He might be listed as a wide receiver, but UNC's, I think he's like an athlete on his high school team, but for North Carolina, most schools are recruiting him as a DB safety.
Okay, he's listed as a wide receiver, but is ranked as an athlete.
Okay.
Committed to Virginia from Norcross, Georgia, 6'2", 190. What's going on with his recruitment? It's kind of interesting because he is committed already to Virginia, but UNC is pursuing him still.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, he's been committed to Virginia for a few months now. North Carolina offered him maybe like a month, maybe it's been 2 months now. And there's been some conversations between the two parties, and now it's a matter of seeing if he's truly interested, if he's going to make a visit to Chapel Hill. He hasn't completely ruled that out. Coincidentally, UNC and Virginia are playing in Chapel Hill this Saturday. He has not, said that whether he's going to attend that game or not, but it would be interesting. That would be the ideal game for him to attend.
There you go. So he could be attending this weekend.
He could.
Okay. Thrilling breakdown.
Well, we got full breakdowns on the weekly scoop, but the thing with him is that he's treading very lightly because he doesn't want to burn the bridge with UVA. Yeah. But obviously he's left that door open for North Carolina.
Okay. And Jake Pope, before we get into Zach Rice and Pettaway, Jake Pope committed to Alabama. There's a lot of good stuff in some previous scoops about him. I know you teased something about him a couple podcasts ago as well. What's going on with Jake Pope, the safety out of Beaufort, Georgia?
Yeah, so those who've been following recruiting know he's been down to 5 schools, or was down to 5 schools for much of the summer, took official visits to 4 of them, ended up choosing between that group on, I guess it was right before the football season, right before his football season began, chose Alabama. The belief behind the scenes is that decision came down to North Carolina and Alabama. And as we've mentioned in the scoops, the communication has not stopped between UNC and Pope. And he's another one where you kind of want to see, his actions and if he ends up making it to a game. He has mentioned to other media outlets that he intends on visiting other schools still, even though he's committed to Alabama, which can't make Nick Saban happy.
Interesting. And I know they really want him. So would they take Pope and Hardy, or is it one or the other?
I think they would take both.
Because they like Hardy at cornerback?
No, they like them both at safety, but I think, the plan all along for this class was to take 4 DBs. They have 2 committed. They're comfortable if signing day were today, just signing those 2. But I think they would more than likely take both of those guys if they can get them.
Who are the 2? I know they have one.
Tayon Holloway and Marcus Allen. Another
Marcus Allen.
Atlanta area DB.
Okay. When's the last time you saw a white cornerback commit to UNC?
I would have to look back at my notes.
Yeah, why is that done? Why do you think that is?
I think we need to go on to the next topic before we get what's it, cancel? What is it? My daughter always tells me.
Canceled, yeah. Don't be scared to talk about race. All right, Zach Rice. I know we're gonna talk about him a little bit more. You want to talk about him here, or you want to talk? We'll save it for later.
We can save it for later. We'll go in detail, but yeah, obviously UNC is a major player in this recruitment, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll do Zach Rice later because he is visiting this weekend. We're gonna spend a little more time on that. All right, let's get into George Pettaway. George Pettaway is committing this Wednesday. Sorry, we're recording on Wednesday morning. A week from this Wednesday at his high school. What's going on there, John? Let's dive into a little bit. This guy I really like. 5'11", listed at 190. From I can't say his high school. He's from Suffolk, Virginia. Ranked 98 in the nation, number 7 running back, number 4 player in the state of Virginia. He has 4 crystal ball predictions. They're all for UNC. Donald.
Yeah, so it's important to point out that the announcement will be streamed on CBS Sports HQ. Side note, do you watch HQ at all?
Occasionally.
Okay.
I need to watch it more. I just got YouTube TV. We can talk about that if you want, but I like it when it's on. I just don't think about it that much. I actually don't watch as much TV as I used to. I used to have it on a lot in the background. I know you have it on all the time, especially in the afternoon when you don't work. But I watch a little bit of ESPN in the mornings usually. I used to watch a lot of some news stuff during all the politics stuff, but I know Chip Patterson, some of those guys at CBS, so I check in occasionally.
Yeah, so for me, it's great to background noise sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much like ESPN news used to be, and I like that. Where you could just actually have news and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, some of it is repeating itself, but they have updates throughout the day and different things. And then the other thing I like about it is kind of gambling, I guess, influence with a lot of their stuff, which is kind of cool. So
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, and it's free.
Well,
it's free. You can get it on anything.
One thing now with sports and sports entertainment is like gambling is just part of it now. They don't avoid it all. ESPN talks about spreads left and right. It's such a mainstream thing now. It's becoming legal in every state. Mm-hmm. It should be legal in every state, I think, in the next 5
I'm waiting for North Carolina for it to be.
Yeah, I think it's legal in Virginia, right?
Yeah, legal in Virginia, legal. Yeah. So
probably, so
well, there is a law that's making its way through the state house or whatever that is going through the process. Hopefully,
just tax it. Just tax the bets.
Yeah, and they're going to use the money that they make to, I guess, support the school system, which is actually a good idea. But we'll see. But anyway, Pettaway.
It's hot in the studio.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. So Pettaway.
Yes.
So he's technically down to 4 schools: Florida, North Carolina, Oregon, and Penn State. When you dive a little bit deeper into this situation, you learn that he has never visited Oregon, and so it's difficult to envision a kid choosing a school on the complete opposite side of the country that he has never visited before. Okay, so although he is a little bit unpredictable, and he's purposely unpredictable, I think we can kind of throw that school out the window. Then you have Penn State, which has 2 running backs committed. And I brought this to his attention. I said, hey, are you truly considering this school? 2 running backs committed. And his, I guess, spin on it is that those are big running backs. He's more of like a shifty, smaller receiving running back. So he's different. He would have a different role. I still, even with that, he makes a very good argument, but even with that, I think that it's hard to see him wanting to be a part of a 3 running back class. It's just not very common. So I think you can scratch Penn State off the list, which I feel like is the most significant, because early on I was hearing that was the team to beat, and he just kind of waited himself out of an opportunity. So that leaves North Carolina and Florida. Florida definitely needs running backs. They have one committed. They missed on their other major target, which is the in-state guy, which was kind of a surprise. They missed on him. From what I've dug in, the Gators would love to have him, but just don't feel like they have any sort of momentum with them whatsoever. He did visit, I think he spent a weekend in June in Florida, but that's it. You compare that to North Carolina, where he's been there, I think, a handful of times within the past 12 months. So, you put in all the pieces of the puzzle with, Dre Bly, with Tony Grimes, with, all that sort of stuff. And things look very good for North Carolina on September 22nd.
Do you think he's verbally committed, silent commit to UNC?
Some of that depends on what your definition is.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't.
Nice way to avoid the question there, Donnie.
Well, because there's kids who will, throughout the process, say, "I'm coming. Oh, coach, I'm coming here. I'm coming here." And then there are ones who legitimately, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, like Bryson Jennings. He told the coaches, "Hey, I'm committed. I'm with you guys. Just give me some time to announce it publicly." To me, that's a silent commitment. Whereas it's done. He's not making any more visits. He just wants to announce it publicly and kind of set all those things up. I think a kid who constantly, tells the staff, "Hey, I'm coming. I'm coming. Blah blah blah." I don't consider those silent commitments, because odds are they're saying the same thing to other staffs too.
Yeah. Okay, George Pettaway. As a player, what kind of stuff does he bring, and how is he different than UNC's other running back commitment?
Well, he's basically, if you had a running back spectrum, he's the complete opposite of Omarion Hampton. So would be a perfect complement. Hampton's obviously a power guy, relies on breaking tackles, and just kind of muscling his way for extra yards. Pettaway is a guy, and also Hampton's not really known for his receiving ability. He's not thrown to very much at his high school, just because the way their offense is set up. Pettaway is a guy catch a lot of passes. He's going to accumulate the yards from being elusive, with his speed, with his vision, that sort of thing. And then, forgetting about what I was, comparing the two running backs, just in general, Pettaway I love him, his off the field. He has that it factor. Super hardworking in camps, goes hard every single rep. A lot of guys, you go to these camps, and these guys with a gazillion offers like he has, you watch him go through reps and they just go through the motions. Pettaway's going like he's playing the Super Bowl every single time. The other thing with him is that even with all of his accomplishments, and you look at his stats are ridiculous. He has this chip on his shoulder, almost like he always is kind of like a Ryan Switzer sort of thing. Ryan Switzer had this chip on his shoulder, and that's what Pettaway has. So he's always trying to has this meanness to him where when he's playing, which I think will help him in the long run.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, I've seen a little bit of tape, and he's pretty incredible. It'd be awesome for UNC to get Pettaway, who's number 7 ranked running back, and Omarion Hampton, who's number 13. To get 2 of the top 15 running backs in one class is pretty impressive. And you're saying he's opposite from Hampton, but he's 5'11". He's probably gonna play at 5'11", 210, maybe 205 type range.
Yeah. But I think the thing with him is that they're going to be able to split him out wide and have him play in the slot as a running back and catch passes out of the backfield. And he's the guy who's going to make you miss, whereas Hampton's going to run you over.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing with UNC's current team the need for an elite back. I'm not sure if they have it on this team right now. Someone that can hit the hole quick and burst for 4 or 5 yards and then break a tackle. That's what they had last year with Javonte and Michael. That's what they don't have this year. I feel like there haven't been any really big runs from the running backs this year, as they maybe wait for these freshmen to get ready, or maybe, I don't know, Ty Chandler hopefully gets there with more comfortability, but they need an elite back to complement what they have at wide receiver. All right. Good stuff there from Donald. Let's get to a little ad read here, guys. I want to talk to you. I'm going to kind of do this little special here for the show because we're going to clip this ad read. I'm Ross Martin, and I want to talk to you about Inside Carolina's new sponsor, Blue Shark Vodka, a small family-owned vodka company based out of Wilmington, North Carolina. It's available in all 100 counties. It's made with North Carolina sweet corn to create the world's smoothest vodka. It's been distilled 4 times, then mellowed for 28 days, which allows for a full-bodied ability for it to fully bloom and awake. And then each batch is triple filtered to give it that smooth, clean finish and eliminate all the alcohol bite. It's won a lot of awards, and it's available in all 100 counties. My buddy Connor Barth, you may recognize that name, a former kicker for UNC, probably the most famous kick in UNC history, is a partner with Blue Shark Vodka, again, based out of Wilmington and Wrightsville. And they sponsor our post-game live show and the Inside Carolina podcast. I want to read to you. I've actually tried it in a couple nights the last couple of weeks, and it's good with any sort of fruit juice, a little seltzer water, a little soda water, and a little lime juice. So that's kind of a vodka soda. And then a Carolina Mule is 2 ounces Blue Shark vodka, a half cup of ginger beer, and 1/2 ounces of fresh lime juice. Great for the tailgate. That's the Blue Shark vodka, ginger beer, and fresh lime juice. Don, how was that read?
That was delightful.
Yeah, I need to clean up a little bit. And then, guys, of course, Johnny T-shirt, johnnyt.com, our sponsor. All Inside Carolina subscribers get 10% off. So if you're not an Inside Carolina subscriber, go to the message board and join and get that 10% off discount code. Get your T-shirts, get your jerseys, get your sweatshirts, all at Johnny T-shirt and johnnytshirt.com. We'll be right back. And we're back. Appreciate you sticking around, guys. We're going to jump into, I have a question for Don here about the 2022 targets. Okay. I did this a couple podcasts ago. I want your feeling on the ones we just talked about, and we'll include Zach Rice in this.
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay. So Gosnell, I'm just gonna say, you say yes or no, whether you think he's on in signs with UNC. Okay. Benji Gosnell.
No.
Okay. Andre Green.
Oh, okay. It's such a tough one.
That's the toughest one, I think.
Yeah. I'll go yeah on that one.
And I feel like you have a good relationship with him and his dad.
Yeah, definitely his dad. Dad's a nice guy. And he listens to the podcast. So we gotta kind of make sure we shout him out.
That's right.
So here's my feeling. I know it's like yes or no on is that I think UNC might be behind right now, but I think that UNC has the ability to kind of get ahead. I think they have the ingredients to get ahead, but you gotta worry about Clemson, and you always have to worry about your recruits around Georgia. You do.
Why? What did you talk about earlier?
Because they might leave campus with candy.
Was that little magic dust I think you referred to last time?
Something like that.
Okay. Will Hardy, yes or no?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. Jake Pope.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay. George Pettaway, I'm assuming you say yes on him.
I'll say yes.
And then Zach Rice.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Interesting. That'll definitely stir up some conversation on the old message boards there. I think people like when you're clear with your picks. Okay, so let's get into Zach Rice. He is visiting this weekend for the UNC Virginia game, and those are what we think are his 2 finalists. What's going on with his recruitment now, and when is he going to decide?
Yeah, so I spoke to him on Sunday, and the kid definitely, he is just tired of this process. He actually, Jackie from our UVA site went to his game on Friday, and he initially turned down her interview request. And she is like the nicest. If you ever met her, she's like the nicest. I can't imagine turning down an interview request with her. But fortunately, Zach's mom was there, and told him, hey, you can't just do this. So anyway, so he did an interview with her, but she said that he was very reluctant. And even when I talked to him, he just seems so burnt out by this. And he really wanted this process done with before the season, but he hasn't been able to find the answer. So that's why I get so frustrated with these people say, oh, he's committed here, he's going to do that. No, he doesn't know what he's doing. So how do you know? You know? So I think he's down to 5, but I think that because he's still torn and because that the only 2 schools that he probably will be able to visit this fall is North Carolina and Virginia. You got to think it's going to come down to those 2 schools. He does have a bye week. And so maybe he finds his way to Notre Dame, which I think out of the 3 other schools is probably the biggest threat. But yeah, I mean, I think this could go either way. He has a tremendous relationship with UVA staff, particularly the offensive line coach. But with North Carolina, he likes what they presented him as far as development and the name, image, likeness sort of stuff. So, but I think ultimately it's going to come down to how he feels. And right now he doesn't know how he feels.
Yeah, I mean, you could use that as a lesson for life.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the answers, doesn't know what he feels, questioning everything.
Yeah.
Doesn't know where to turn for the right answer. Maybe the answer's not there. But you think Virginia wins out, even though you think it's very close right now?
Well, I mean, usually relationships end up winning out. I mean, because here's the thing with this, right? If we're being honest and we're not asking a UNC fan or not asking a Virginia fan or whatever, and we're just looking at this objectively, I mean, he doesn't have a wrong choice. Whether he picks Alabama, Notre Dame, Virginia, North Carolina, or Ohio State, he's going to get a great education. And all of those schools have shown an ability to send kids to the NFL draft. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, once he comes to the realization that there isn't really a wrong pick here, ultimately it's going to come down to relationships and where he feels the most comfortable. And what's
closer, what's easier on his family, it's definitely easier to go to a school that's closer by.
Yeah. So I think he wants to, it would make a lot of sense with how close he is with his mom to stay fairly close. And obviously outside of North Carolina, Virginia, it's just too difficult for them to even visit any of those other schools. So imagine what it would be like if you were to go to Alabama. How often is mom going to see him? Unless, of course, there have been parents who have moved closer. That definitely happens. I don't know what their situation is and if that's a possibility, but that's always
Chris Duhan's family moved to Duke for him.
Yeah. Was it Tagovailoa moved to Alabama from Hawaii?
Didn't Zamir White's family move?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Is that the pixie dust we're talking about?
There was some pixie dust in play there, whether it be a car. I don't want to make it. I don't want to say anything.
That's a big piece of pixie dust.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Zach Rice, Pettaway, 2 Virginia guys. Recruitment continues on. Is Rice a early enrollee?
Yes. Okay. Which further complicates it because we talked. I asked him, I said, hey, is there a chance you wait until after the season? They made it to the semifinals last season. So they definitely, and they're undefeated right now. So they definitely have a real chance to go pretty deep in the playoffs. If they go all the way to the state championship, that would bring them to basically, I think, almost mid-December. Signing days or the early signing periods in mid-December. And obviously wherever he goes, he's going to be enrolling very quickly. And he also mentioned the fact that he would like to be committed at least for a month or so before actually signing with that school.
All right. Good stuff. All right, let's get into a little team talk here. Leeds, Zach Rice is visiting this weekend for Virginia UNC. UNC is now 1-1 with a loss to Virginia Tech and a win over Georgia State. I still don't think we know a lot about this team. You've watched both. Let me switch it on you now. You've watched both games. What's your impressions of this team so far?
Well, as you mentioned, it's difficult to make a lot of judgments because the fact that you played Virginia Tech in that situation, first home crowd in a long time, they were amped up. Mm-hmm. And then you play Georgia State, which is not a very good team, not even a very good group of 5 team. North Carolina beat them pretty badly, but so it's so hard to say. I mean, Sam Howell looked better than he looked in the first game, but was that the competition or did Sam Howell fix some of the things that needed to be fixed from the Virginia Tech game? The one thing I'll say is that the running game just doesn't look great.
Yep. Yep.
And it didn't look great against Georgia State. And so, I mean, how's it going to look against UVA? Because I ask you, if UNC loses Saturday, 1-2 overall, 0-2 in the ACC.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Not good. Yeah, I agree with a lot of things you said. I mean, 0-2 in the ACC. I mean, you're going to have less attendance for games. I mean, the Duke game becomes less important when you start 0-2, especially in the Coastal. So you have two teams kind of ahead of you. Not a good thing. But I mean, it's hard to, I don't want to go and say that right now because the game hasn't been played. I think we look at what UNC's done so far. I agree. Like, I think there's some offensive line issues and some run game issues. And you just don't have Michael Carter and Javonte, which is easily an excuse to make. And it's a valid excuse, but you have to compensate other ways. And I'm not sure the passing game is there either with Daz Diami. Doing against Georgia State looked great, but they struggled a little bit in the first half, I thought, especially on defense. Georgia State had a really long drive. So I think there's a lot of questions, especially in the offensive line. Zudu, we don't know if he's going to play this weekend. Brian Anderson, love the guy. He came back from an injury. The interior offensive line just wasn't really that great. And you look at their PFF grades, and it mirrors what you see on film. Like, they're just getting beat a little bit, and some things don't look great. So I think they got to fix the offensive line. That's where it starts, because it feels like Sam is like always like rushed and hurried. And if you're gonna have a good passing game, he needs to be protected. He's always on the run. He ran the ball way too much against Georgia State, which I didn't like to see either. And then the running backs, you don't want your quarterback leading the team and rushing, and the running backs just haven't produced yet. So they got to figure that out. I mean, they've had 2 weeks now with tape, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks they can figure out the offensive line, the run game, or it's gonna be a long season. I do like the defense. I think they're playing well. I think there's a lot of what we thought was going to happen with this defensive team is happening. Ja'Cory Conley's a beast. He's a playmaker. Even with one hand, he injured his hand in the game. He's still, a really good open field tackler. I think Eugene Asante kind of fixed some issues he had against Virginia Tech and looked good. Gimmel, you haven't seen him really flash, but maybe that's a good thing. I think he's been where he needs to be. And then the defensive line, you're getting the production you wanted from Vahasik and Murphy, and some flashes here and there for some other guys.
Yeah, I love Murphy on Saturday.
Yeah, I need to watch the games again. When you're at the game, like, it's hard to really see what's going on.
Yeah,
honestly, like.
Well, I actually prefer to be home. Yeah, I really do.
I agree, but I mean, if you want the atmosphere, it was really nice to be in that stadium, of course. Yeah. But to watch the game, I mean, you get the commentary from the producers who have spotters and and you get a closer view of the kind of the offensive line, defensive lines. You kind of see what's going on. But if you're anywhere in the stands, it's hard to see the action. But again, you do see the whole field. So you see the all 22 kind of from the stadium. You want Storm Duck back. It's kind of interesting what's going on there. But I think the defense is getting to where it needs to be. I think they'll get better as long as they stay healthy. And then the offense just. What
about the secondary?
I think it's fine. I mean, I don't think
I felt like maybe I had too many high expectations for the secondary. But I don't know. I just felt like if Georgia State had a better quarterback and better receivers, then things would have been really bad. Maybe not a lot.
They didn't really pass the ball much, and I don't think Virginia Tech really did much either through the air. I'm trying to remember. Like, UNC pretty much shut them out in the second half. Yeah, they missed on some opportunities there. So I mean, but Virginia has a great quarterback in Brennan Armstrong, and they throw the ball a lot. So
and he was a guy.
I mean, this game is going to tell us what we need to know about this team. If they win a tough game in the fourth quarter, then I think UNC's good. If they get beat and it's not close in the fourth quarter and it shows that Virginia's a lot better, we'll see that this team has been a lot of hype and not much substance.
Yeah, and for those who've been following recruiting for a while, know that Armstrong was actually very heavily recruited by North Carolina under Fedora.
I was trying to find pictures of him from a camp he came to. He came to the same camp that I think Hal was at UNC. I think Hal was a year younger, maybe, but I remember taking photos at that camp. I was not with Inside Carolina then, but
I just remember he was a little guy. I mean, he still is, but you wouldn't know that he was like a legit quarterback recruit just by kind of seeing him stand there on the sideline. That's what my recollection of him in the camp.
I think he had double earrings.
Did he have double earrings? I noticed the other thing too was he had that baby face, but I noticed he has the beard now that kind of gets hide the baby face.
He's good. He's good. He was good last year
Yeah,
for
his
Virginia.
numbers
He's one of the top
are
quarterbacks right now statistically.
yeah.
For
I
two
mean,
games.
over 70% completion rate, 9-to-1 TD to INT ratio.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually, because Virginia started at 11:30 on Saturday, and then also I was able to watch it. Oh, because I mean there was no UNC. UNC was away the prior weekend. I watched both of Virginia's games, and I was pretty impressed.
Yeah. I mean, they killed those two teams. How good Illinois really is, we'll see. But they put up points, and that's something that, I mean, I guess it's better than not putting up points. All right. Anything else on the team? I will say one thing, man. Bryson Nesbitt looked good on that pass play, and so did Jacoby Criswell. That was a great play. And then I think Ra and Power looked good. So that's promising.
I know Ra's mother was extremely excited because I was woken up Sunday morning with a very, very funny.
What did she say?
Just I can't remember exactly, but she was just so excited that he got to play.
It's gotta be big for his parents to see their kid on TV like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Power had that pick six that was called back, but he had the interception.
Yeah, Nesbitt though, because it wasn't just a simple, catch a jump ball sort of thing in the end zone. It was where he made a move, evaded a tackler, all that sort of stuff. And what was it, like 22 yards, something like that, or maybe even longer than that?
Mm-hmm. He looked good. He looked long. He looked fast.
I wonder just how much, because you watch it closer than I do. But are they starting to phase out Walston?
They play Kamari Morales a lot more. I'm not sure if Walston was injured or not, but I'll tell you what, they use tight ends a lot in blocking. And I don't think Nesbitt is there blocking wise. I mean, he's just not the size. He doesn't have the size to go against a.
Well, he basically played receiver in high school.
Yeah. He's a pass catching tight end. So whether they use him as just a big wide receiver, which I have no problem with if he's athletic enough. But I feel like Morales and Walston have the blocking down, which is huge. I mean, you watch Walston. I mean, those run plays, and he's blocking every play.
So, hey, before you put me on the spot, let me put you on the spot. What happens on Saturday?
Jeez. That's a tough question, Don. Look, I think Virginia's a better team, so I think Virginia wins.
Wow. I mean, you might be right. I mean, I think the one thing is like you said, we don't know how good Illinois is because they beat a crappy, down their luck Nebraska team.
Yeah. But Illinois is Power 5. I mean,
yeah.
And so is Nebraska. So it's like, I mean, Power 5. I don't know. Well, it'd be interesting to see. And I just think the offensive line for UNC hasn't showed me anything. There's no reason why I think all of a sudden this offensive line run game is going to be so good. They're going to beat Virginia. I mean, Virginia's been recruiting and kind of got the system in where they're full steam ahead, and they have a great quarterback too. And like we've talked about before, having a good quarterback in college football can help you win games. And Sam looked great against Georgia State, but he looked awful against Virginia Tech. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Ready to go into our life questions?
Yeah, we're gonna do a life advice question. Again, to remind you about the next top 5 is your top 5 kind of game day rituals, traditions, things you do before, during, after UNC football games. Excuse me. And this can be anything, guys. So, open-ended. I mean, not just, it doesn't have to be just a ritual, but just things you like to do or wear or say or do after touchdown. Anything you think is kind of relates to a game day tradition or ritual. Email Don those. All right. We have this one life advice question. We've been holding it. I think it's really good. Spend about 10 minutes or so on it. I'm going to read it. Okay, Don?
All right.
Remember, life advice, this is not like we're some therapist or some
definitely not
proven like life expert. We're just creating conversation and giving our thoughts, comments, and see what comes out of it. All right, this came to me. Won't give any names. Came to us, I think, in my direct messages on Inside Carolina. All right, I seek advice from the gurus, Don and Ross. How do you know when it's time to leave a job? I've been working for a large financial services firm for the last 5 years in the same position for the whole time. I have high job security, which is great since I have a stay-at-home wife and 3 young kids. The pay is decent. The benefits are good. I can structure my day how I wish, and the work doesn't stress me out after I leave the office. I get strong performance reviews and a modest pay raise each year. Sounds great. My issue is this: the job now feels stale. Every day feels like the previous day. I'm no longer challenged to learn or try new things. High performance is not rewarded much more than average performance. I can't keep doing the same thing for another 5 years. Opportunities for advancement within the company are limited. I was passed over for promotion in January, and there won't be another posting for a promotion until next year. I'm tempted to start looking elsewhere for more pay and more career advancement opportunities. I'm well aware that with more pay and responsibility comes more stress and hours away from my family. All right, Don, when is it? This is a big life question I think that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
When to leave a job, when to move a job, being challenged in work, life, family, stress, kind of that work balance question and also your career and your life and being challenged and personal growth as well. So where do you want to take this to start? We'll go from there.
All right. So I have two things that pop in my mind. One, now I've only, since graduating college, I've only had one job, and you're looking at it. Okay. So I don't know if
how old are you?
I am 40 years old. Years old. 40.
You've been in South Carolina the whole time?
Yeah, I started when I was in college.
How old were you? What year was that?
I believe I started in 2003.
Okay, so
it's like one of those things where
it happened. The merger.
Yeah. Which merger?
That big article I did about.
Oh yeah. You're right.
When UNC basketball and Tar Pit combined.
Yeah. So
that was 2001.
Yeah. So as far as like changing jobs and everything, I don't know if I'm the best. I have hardly any experience with it, but I can definitely understand that the worries that are involved with it. The one thing I'll say is that looking at how he describes his job, not to the T, but for the most part, my situation matches up with a lot of what he says. The main difference, though, and I think this is significant, and he thinks it's significant too, is basically he says it has gotten stale. Same thing every day. I don't have that. And I think that's one of the things that attracts me so much to my job is that things are different every single day, every single year, all that sort of stuff. So I think that's important. The other thing is I kind of feel like he's already made up his mind, and maybe he just needs someone to kind of just push him a little bit, because he's, he says stuff like, I can't keep doing the same thing for another 5 years. He says, there was other point that he said that I was like, all right, this guy has basically made up his mind, and he just wants someone to kind of affirm it for him. What was your take?
Well, okay, so a couple things here. Like, he has a stable job and he has a wife and kids. I asked him a follow-up, and I'll pull that up.
Okay.
I asked, how old are you? How old are your kids? Where have you lived? What have your jobs been and career path to this job? So a little more context. He's 36, so I'm 35, so very relatable, except for the kid part. His kids are elementary and preschool ages, so ages from 2 to 10, I would assume 2 to 11, 3 to 11. I live in the Charlotte area. Since we have kids, we want to stay in the area close to the family and the Tar Heels. Before kids, we lived in DC suburbs, have been in financial services, banking and sales since graduating from Carolina 14 years ago. So he's had the same type of job, financial services, since graduation. Current job is in financial planning. Was a pretty logical progression from my previous jobs. No major detours or industry changes in my career so far. So he's been financial services, banking and sales, and now does financial planning. I'm not a huge finance guy, so I'm not.
Me neither.
Too expert in that, but we can all relate to sentiment and career and life and love and all that stuff. So I would ask, like, do you have job options that you're looking at that you think would be a better fit, that provides you with the challenge and with similar pay, and ability to move up and grow in the company? Do you think there are options out there, or do you think you'd have to go back and get a different degree? Would you have to, would it be pretty hard to find a job that gives you everything you like about your current job? And then you weigh the two, whether that risk of leaving your current great job is worth the potential benefits of finding a new job. Maybe it pays less to start out with. Maybe sometimes the grass isn't always greener, I think, is a good way to look at this too. You have a lot of good things going on that you like about this job, but there's also, there are some negative things in terms of, you said there's not really much option for promotion. And that's a legitimate worry. He does get a raise, which is great, but he's very stale in the challenges. And I think that's very common with a lot of people's jobs because there's a lot of monotony to every job. There's going to be always bad things about every job. Unless you're like a rock star or an athlete or like a porn star. I'm just kidding. But like unless you're some superstar athlete or like a model or like a travel
Is Ben
blogger,
still there?
I think he is. Yeah. I'm in the office. Ben's in here. So I'm trying to be responsible. There's things that suck about every job and you have to bite the bullet and do it. And there's things that are great about every job, but look, the longer you wait to make the move, the tougher it will be to make the move. And I think what complicates the situation is the wife, stay-at-home wife, and 3 kids. You have to support your kids and wife, and that is hard to.
But you almost you would have to kind of, if you're going to kind of like dip your toe in there, you have to kind of do it without, you don't quit your job. You kind of dip your toe in and kind of look to see what's out there, and just don't let your job know that you're looking around.
Yeah, of course. My dad always tells me this. My dad always said, like, you always want to look for a job when you have a job. And it looks like this guy's pretty advanced in his career. Like, he's respected. Yeah. He's in this company for a long time. He's been in financial services. I don't think he's going to have issues, potentially getting another job, whether it be the one he wants or not. But you don't want to, I think it's tougher when you've been unemployed for 6 months and they ask you, oh, why have you been unemployed? And it's like, well, I just kind of, didn't like where I was, so I quit. No one likes a quitter. So and it sucks to look for jobs. It just sucks. If you're very excellent in your career, people come to you. But if you're some phenom in your career, people will headhunt and find you. Often that's not the case. You have to go find the job, especially in kind of businesses where there's just so many people involved. So you're gonna have to look for a job, but I would wait for the right fit, and then you weigh whether that job is the right, if it checks enough boxes in terms of challenging you, new things, growing in it. I think those are all important. I think being challenged in your work and being excited about your work can be a lot more important than maybe the money. Especially if, what do you say, he's been over this job, the job feels stale, every day feels like the previous day, and that's going to continue unless you leave. So a couple mixed messages there. He keeps doing the same thing for another 5 years. I can't keep doing the same thing for another 5 years. So a little shit or get off the pot situation here, but I would be very careful with it in researching it. Talk to people, get coffee with people, get beers with people, make some connections that can help you find what you want to do. Because I always think about my job here. I gotta be careful how I phrase this, but we are given a lot of flexibility. It's awesome to cover sports. And I always think about, man, if I switch companies or like look for a different field where maybe I'll make more money, I'm not setting my own schedule. I'm not literally watching basketball games and getting paid for it. Even though there's things that suck about this job, transcribing, late hours, doing podcasts with Don. There's a lot of monotony. I mean, if you look at it, every year is different, but every year is very much the same too. Because there's always a signing class, there's always preseason practice, there's always spring practice, there's always late night with Roy. I mean, there's a lot of monotony to it. Within it, there's a lot of interesting things, and the flexibility with our job. I know you love it because you take every afternoon off.
I do not take every afternoon off. The thing I love though is like, and we talked about this. I'm that dad who still goes to all of my daughter's basketball practices, but I bring my laptop. I know what the internet situation is at each location, so I can kind of accommodate. And so I work while I do those sort of things, which is great. And there's a lot of times where I'm like, all right, I got to work on this, but I know she has a 2-hour practice tonight. And I'm like, all right, I'm working on this tonight and during that 2-hour block.
One thing that's tough about this job is we have to always be on. Because you just never know when news is going to break, especially with recruiting. And then there's news, just little stuff we have to put in the content, which you have to always be on. I mean, I think everybody in business would, but luckily in South Carolina, we have a lot of people. So we have interns, Ben, Greg, Gregory, all our interns who can kind of help out.
Well, that's what people don't realize, like Ben and Michelle, at least for me, have been invaluable in situations where I'm in a bind and I need help. And they're completely understand. Both of them have kids that completely understand, juggling those sort of things. So they're always willing to help. But yeah, I mean, last week I was at my kid's open house, and in the middle of it, I get a phone call that I had to absolutely take. So I had to step outside, and of course my phone's about to die, so I had to go sit in the car and charge my phone while I'm on the phone. But anyway, so we get that. The one thing I'll say, just to add on, I agree with everything Ross said, but he clearly has some things that are important to him that this job has. I would make sure that I had those things written down. And every job that I'm considering, I would make sure that they 100% check those boxes also, because I think obviously that those are important. And then so you're basically looking for what you have now, but is not as stale. You know what I mean? And I think that's important, because you don't want to lose any one of those things, because you're going to miss it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't take less money, honestly, unless it's some unbelievable opportunity, just because of you want that stability with the family. But he says he's tempted to look elsewhere. Go look elsewhere. I mean, I would take 2 hours every Wednesday and job search, and then get coffee or a beer with someone in the business and make connections. I know I do that sometimes, and it's just like sometimes it never leads anywhere. But you never know. And
is Ross looking for a new job?
You always are keeping options open. And so, let me lose my train of thought there, Don. It's all about relationships. The job, searching online for jobs is worthless. It's all about relationships. So meet some people, see what else is out there. I think that's one thing, is knowing what's out there, learning about other people's jobs, meeting more people, and especially in Charlotte with so many different financial jobs and banking jobs in Charlotte and other companies that may need your services. There's opportunities out there that maybe a smaller company gives you more career advancement, or it's more exciting working for a smaller company or a startup or something like that could use your skills. But you want to look while you have a job. And I got someone, man, I want to read you. I'm trying to find this text a buddy told me. Let me see if I can find this real quick. It's going to be worth it.
Yeah. So while you're looking for that, the one thing I was thinking about when he mentioned finance is that I believe Charlotte is the banking capital of the United States. So
I think after New York, yeah.
Okay. And so he is obviously, he probably would not have to move, which still puts him in a really good spot. And so he probably could find something. But yeah, there might be some adjustments, maybe a different commute that isn't ideal, because I know Charlotte during rush hour can be a pain in the butt. Have you found your text message yet?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I was kind of life talks with a group of friends occasionally.
I'm not on that text message. I don't know why.
Okay. So my buddy said the past few years he's been reacting to his environment rather than acting and creating my own environment. So he wants to react, to act, to do things he wants to create and act rather than reacting to his environment. The kind of the point there is go out and do it. Stop talking about it. Make moves, whether it can be a small move towards where you want to go. But there's no better time than the present. Otherwise, you're never going to do it. I think that applies to anything in life, whether it be jobs, career, life, love, pursuit of happiness. Go out and do it rather than talk about it. I know it's hard to start, but that'd be my advice for anyone.
I mean, clearly he knows what he wants to do, but there is that fear there. And I think that if he handles it a certain way, like you mentioned, then I think that it kind of lessens the fear, lessens the potential for any sort of blowback, and he can handle this without having any sort of problems whatsoever, by being careful with his approach to it. But clearly he knows what he wants to do.
All right. Good stuff, Don. That was great. We'll send us those questions. Maybe that one will bring in more questions.
Yes.
RossMMartin@gmail.com or on Inside Carolina. Anything life advice? That was a deep one. Life, love, career, anything you want us to answer, talk about, can be something fun, lighthearted, some situation you have with your friends.
We need some relationship questions.
Something you have with your wife or husband or kids, some issue to solve. We can kind of give our perspective on it. All right, Don, you good?
I am good.
All right, we will talk to you in 2 weeks. I think by then UNC should have another commitment, and that'll be the topic of discussion then. And appreciate you listening.